Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is, it's July 6, 2015. This is show 101, and the name of the show is Batta-Bing-Bernie. You say, Rich, Batta-Bing, why? Why'd you call it Batta-Bing? Because I'll tell you guys, tonight you're going to see Bernie Sanders give the Republican Party, the Koch brothers, and Fox News the old bada-bing. Now, you know, for the longest time, I've been calling it the bada-bing bitch slap. But from now on, I'm going to be nice, and I'm not going to use the term bitch slap anymore. I'm going to be a gentleman, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea because, you know, a lot of people misconstrue what the term is. So I just want people to understand that it has nothing to do with women. It has nothing to do with female dogs. And guys, even I'm not going to use it anymore, but a bitch slap is when you hit somebody right between the eyes with facts. That's what it is. Bada bing. And tonight you're going to see Bernie Sanders do it repeatedly. But tonight's show is going to be really three parts. The first part will be Bernie, and we're going to show some of his campaign speech up in Madison, Wisconsin. And the second part is going to be separating sense from nonsense. And we're going to have Lawrence Krauss explain it. And I tell you guys, you're going to enjoy this. It'll be a learning experience and something that we can all share. And also, last week we had a call-in. And the call-in got a little disputed, and it got a little heated. And tonight, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show you the video that explains everything that was in question. And hopefully, tonight will be a learning experience. Where if you're a critical thinker, and if you sit here like a gentleman, and if you put politics behind you, and if you look at the facts and the data, there's only one conclusion. But we'll let you watch how it's done. You'll see how the peer-reviewed information comes. And you know, a lot of times, guys, some people are a little confused what peer-reviewed studies are. You know, peers are the people that do the same thing that you do. Like I used to be in the central vac business. Well, my peers would be other guys that install central vacs. And if somebody came up with a new idea or had a different way to do, you'd share the ideas. Hey, have you seen this? Hey, have you done? Hey, have you ever thought it? And that's called peer review. And you know, it's done by experts. So we want to talk about that. And then, of course, we can't get away without giving Fox News the business, because Fox News is trying to generate a climate of deception. And guys, we're going to expose them. We're going to expose them, and you know, we're going to leave them, we're going to hang them out to dry, because enough is enough. All right, but we're going to go back to the beginning now. And recently, Bernie gave a speech in Madison, Wisconsin. And there was over 10,000 people there. And the funny thing is, guys, what brought me to this table, what really prompted me to become an activist, was one day I was sitting home watching Fox News, and I had my laptop with me, and this was when Wisconsin was erupting, and the unions were fighting, and the unions had made concessions on the health care, and they made concessions on the pensions, and Walker and his cronies wanted to take away competitive, I can't believe I'm going to screw this up. Collective bargaining. Thanks, Kurt. Hey, every once in a while you get a brain fart. What are you going to do, you know? So anyway, I was sitting there and I'm watching all these people rally, and most of them are union people, and there was a union school teacher, and Fox is interviewing her, and she's saying, well, you know, I don't believe that the union should get what they're trying to push for, and you know, we don't need collective bargaining. I said, wait a minute. This doesn't sound kosher. And for what reason? Don't ask me. I don't know why. But I looked at the woman's name and I Googled it. And when I Googled her, and I checked the teleprompter on Fox, I checked the thing, and I said, yes, same woman from Wisconsin, same woman. And guys, what was she? She was the secretary for the Treasury of the Republican Party. I said, you gotta be kidding me. So you mean the deck is stacked? You know, the game is rigged, the table's tilted? Is this how they do it? And I was flabbergasted. And from that day on, I've never been the same. But you know what? As much fun as I have, Bernie Sanders has a lot more. But guys, first we're going to show you. Now, when I first started watching this speech, I didn't know what he was talking about, because what had happened is the Republican Party put up a billboard to disgrace Bernie. So Judy, can you bring up that billboard that's still with the billboard on it? There we go. So guys, this is what greeted Bernie Sanders when he came into Massachusetts. And it's almost like a comparison between Dumb and Dumber, you know, left and lefter. And of course, they had to put the R backwards. Yesterday's candidates, extreme policies, leftandlefter.com. And guys, you know what? See where it says extreme policies? When it comes to Bernie Sanders, you better be prepared, because he ain't playing games. So Judy, let's show how Bernie handles a situation. Hit it.
What the campaign is about is a very radical idea. We're going to tell the truth.
Number 02 now, okay? Go to video 02. No, not the still, the video. Number 02. Okay, I'm being patient. There we go. Thank you.
Now, it is. Now, I was shown something yesterday. Apparently, the Wisconsin Republican Party has welcomed me into the state with a billboard, and the billboard indicated that I was an extremist. So let me just say a few words to my friends in the Republican Party about extremism. When you deny the right of workers to come together in collective bargaining, that's extremism. When you tell a woman that she cannot control her own body, that's extremism. When you think a woman is a child and can't purchase a contraceptive, that is extremism. When you give tax breaks to billionaires and refuse to raise the minimum wage, that's extremism. But our views, which represent, in fact, the vast majority of the American people, are a little bit different. We believe that the time has come when people in Wisconsin, Vermont, and all over this country create a political movement which says to the billionaire class, you can't have it all. And what we are saying to the Koch brothers, Governor Walker, and all of those people is that this great country and our government belong to all of the people and not just a handful of very wealthy people. Now, the truth of the matter is that politics in a democratic society should not be complicated. What politics should simply be about is people coming together, taking a hard look at the problems that we face, listen to different ideas, and then go about solving those problems. Despite what the media may think, politics is not a baseball game with polls. Politics is not a soap opera. What politics is about in a democratic society is people coming together and improving life for our people. And today I want to touch on some of the major issues that are facing our people and talk to you about some ideas as to how we can address those problems. But the first point that I want to make, and John Nichols has already made it, and let me be very clear about this. This campaign is not about Bernie Sanders. It is not about Hillary Clinton. It is not about anybody else. It is about you. It is about putting together a grassroots movement of millions and millions of people who stand together and make it clear that we need fundamental changes in the economics and politics of this country so the government works for all of us and not a handful of wealthy campaign contributors. And let me also tell you that in order to win this election, it goes without saying that we need a strong grassroots movement, an unprecedented grassroots movement. But let me say this to you also, and this is something that no other candidate will tell you, and that is that nobody in the White House, no matter how good he or she may be, can address the major issues facing working families and the middle class without an active, politically conscious grassroots movement. And the reason for that is not complicated. It is that the big money interests, Wall Street, corporate America, all of these guys have so much power that no president can defeat them unless there is an organized grassroots movement making them an offer they can't refuse.
Guys, we're going to make them an offer they can't refuse. And I mean, no, and I mean, really, when it comes to the Koch brothers and it comes to other people like that, you know, a lot of the younger people that are watching us, especially on YouTube, are probably not going to be familiar with the term, you know, hey, Kurt, can you help me out again over here? I got my headphones on. I'm all screwed up. All right, so anyway, getting back to make an offer we can't refuse. A lot of people don't know where that came from. So, Judy, let's have the next clip.
You look terrible. I want you to eat. I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood big shot's gonna give you what you want.
Too late. They start shooting in a week.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Guys, back in the 70s, that was the code word. Gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. And everybody said it. Everybody said it. So, you know, what are you gonna do to threaten somebody like the Republican Party, the Koch brothers? You can't threaten them. But what you have to do is you have to shame them into doing the right thing. And what's the right thing? The right thing is they have to start paying their fair share. It's that simple. You got companies like GE that don't pay any taxes. I mean, nothing. They get away scot-free. How are they able to do it? Because they're able to pay for the best lawyers, the best tax attorneys. They're able to hire the best lobbyists so that they get all the advantages in their favor. And guys, you know, they want to continue to use the infrastructure. They want to keep, you know, the bridges, the tunnels, you know, all the, you know, the water systems. They want to use everything without paying for it. Why? Because they want the profits to go to the shareholders. The shareholders are more important than the people, but not with Bernie. And guys, the next clip is going to be, will prove it even more, because it's going to be about working families and redistribution of wealth. You know, we always hear this on Fox all the time. Well, we want to redistribute wealth. We want to have trickle-down economics. Well, we know that doesn't work. We know the business model has to change. And Bernie's got some answers. So, Judy, let's have the next one.
But there is one struggle in which not only have we not succeeded, but in which we are losing ground, and that is the fundamental struggle for economic justice. I am in the Senate the ranking member of the Budget Committee, which means that I am the Democratic leader on that committee. And I want to give you an example. And I want to speak now not just to the people in this room, but to working class and middle class Republicans in the state of Wisconsin, because I want you to know what many people do not know. I want you to know what your party, Republican Party, is doing in Washington, D.C. This is what the Republican budget did, and I know something about it because I am the ranking member of this committee. This is what it did. About 2 months ago, this legislation was passed. And this legislation sets the framework for what the appropriations committees will do later on. 35 million Americans have no health insurance. Only major country on earth without health care for all. Republicans decided to end the Affordable Care Act, cut Medicaid by over $400 billion, throw 27 million Americans off of health insurance. At a time when the middle class is struggling to send their kids to college, Republican budget over a 10-year period cut $90 billion from the Pell Grant program. At a time when millions of Americans are working 40 or 50 hours a week and are not earning the income they need to adequately feed their family, the Republicans made massive cuts in nutrition programs for hungry people and for children, including the Wttt program, which is designed to protect low-income pregnant women and their newborn babies. And then, after making massive cuts in healthcare, education, nutrition, and many, many other programs that working families depend upon, the Republicans decided to give over $200 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. In my view, when we reach out, and what this campaign is about, is to reach out to working families all over this country, including Republicans. Because I believe that the Koch brothers and the Republican leadership in Washington has gotten away with murder for too many years. What they have done is try to divide our country up. Black versus white, native-born versus immigrant, gay versus straight. And what they have done is try to divide us. Our job is to bring people together around a progressive agenda that works for all of us. Go out, please, where we need most help, not just in winning this election, but in transforming America, is to create a process by which people stop voting against their own best interest. Ask your Republican friends at work if they really think it makes sense to vote for people who are going to send their jobs abroad. Vote for people who will not raise the minimum wage. Vote for people who take health care away from their own children. And when we are successful in bringing our people, middle-class working people together, we will transform America. Let me conclude by saying this. What I would like to ask of you is please think big, not small. In Washington, the debate is often about whether we cut education by 2% or 6%, whether we throw this many people off of health care or that many, whether we give corporations this much of a tax break or that much of a tax break. That's not the worldview that we should have. Our vision should be that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. We can provide health care to every man, woman, and child as a right. We can make certain that every person in this country can get all of the education he or she needs, regardless of the income. We can create millions of decent paying jobs. We can have the best child care system in the world. In the last 30 years, there has been a huge redistribution of wealth from the middle class and working families to the top 0.1%. Our job is to reverse that, redistribute wealth back into the hands of working families.
Judy? All right. Guys, I tell you, the more I listen to him, the more I like him. I mean, it's just sound logic. And you know, the one thing that I didn't include in the clip, he was talking about, you know, Obama's going to start getting people, anybody that works over 40 hours a week is going to start getting time and a half for 40 plus hours. Well, you know, you got companies like Walmart, what they do is they make you a position representative. They make you a manager. Let's say you're manager of the toy department. Well, because you're a manager, you go on salary. So you're not entitled to time and a half. So let's say you're working 60 hours a week at Walmart and you're making $10 an hour. Well, if you were going to work 20 hours overtime, that would be a time and a half. That would be $5 an hour, right? Times 20, it'd be $100, right? But because they made you a manager, you don't get that. Guess who gets that money? The shareholders. And this is what makes me crazy. And people say, well, you know, the shareholders deserve. No. The people that generate the value are the people that deserve it. And here's another thing that you don't think of. When Walmart doesn't pay their people time and a half for overtime, look what kind of an advantage they have over the mom and pop store that has to pay their employee time and a half. So you see, by giving somebody a title and screwing them out of the money, you really screw the mom and pop store. Isn't Walmart wonderful? Isn't the 1% one? And guys, this is what we're dealing with. And then you say, well, how does this happen all the time? How is this allowed to continue? Because people vote against their own interest. Right, Uncle Joey? Uncle Joey doesn't care. To him, it doesn't matter. The future of his kids is not important. His party is more important. And that's the way Uncle Joe is. Oh, and he's not talking to me on his Facebook page because I hit him with too many lefts, I'll tell you. But the next clip we're going to play is, guys, we have to learn how to separate sense from nonsense. And who better to explain it to us than the humanist of the year, Lawrence Krauss. So Judy, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, we're going to do the Bill Maher clip because Bernie hit us with the facts and he was serious, but Bill Maher is going to hit us with the facts and he's going to make us laugh. So Judy, hit it.
And finally, new rule, someone must tell me, what is with this new trend of people who have all the power acting like they're the oppressed ones? Heterosexual Christians under siege from gays. White people complaining that reverse racists are trying to strip them of their right to shoot unarmed black men. And most bizarre, the recent wave of billionaires sobbing that they're being demonized and under attack. And the thing is, it's not just having all the money in the world that's getting them down. It's that the rest of us don't often enough look at them and say, you are the most brilliant, industrious person on earth. Can you teach us how to be more like you while we buff your cock with this fine chamois? You know, I used to think Hollywood egos were the neediest, but these masters of the universe, more like babies on a plane. Stock trader Steve Schwartzman, net worth $8 billion, once said that Obama raising his taxes 3% felt like when Hitler invaded Poland. Sounds like something Sarah Palin would tweet after huffing paint thinner. But with the super rich, it's becoming a meme. Now we have Tom Perkins, net worth $8 billion, saying the richest 1% are so persecuted in America They feel like Jews in Nazi Germany. Which is why, just to be safe, last week Tom built a panic room inside his mansion that's a full-size replica of Anne Frank's house. Is it really that hard out there for a pimp with $8 billion? You know, even when your shady financial tricks tanked the economy, nothing happened to any of you. Nobody went to jail. Nobody went broke. Justin Bieber didn't even egg your house. You just got richer while everybody else got poorer. The Oxfam committee released a report this year on global inequality, and the 85 richest people, 85, own more than the bottom 3.5 billion put together, which is half the planet. This is a real problem, and not just for when they go halvesies on a wedding present. And not that that Nazi-Jew analogy deserves to be taken seriously, but the Jews didn't do anything to deserve the hate they got. But America's super rich? In the last 30 years, even though worker productivity went up 90%, income only went up 8%. If I was working twice as hard and someone else was reaping almost all the reward, I'd hate them. And I'd also want to know, how could that happen? Well, billionaire Sam Zell knows the answer to that. He said the rest of America should stop bitching about the 1% and realize they are the 1% because they work harder. Okay, now we do need to come after you with pitchforks. Is talking on the phone in a comfortable office really more degrading than working in a slaughterhouse or a sweatshop or on a reality TV show? With just one real estate deal last year, Sam Zell made 1,000 times what this guy makes. Did he really work 1,000 times harder? By the way, that's a coal miner, not John Boehner. Did you know that during World War II, FDR actually proposed a cap on income that in today's dollars would mean that no person could ever take home more than about $300,000. Okay, that is a little low. But wouldn't it be great if there... Wouldn't it be great if there were Democrats out there like that now who would say to billionaires, oh, you're crying? We'll give you something to cry about. You don't want a minimum wage? How about we not only have a minimum wage, we have a maximum wage? That is not a new idea. James Madison, who wrote our Constitution, said, government should prevent an immoderate accumulation of riches. Washington, Jefferson, Hamilton, they all agreed that too much money in the hands of too few would destroy democracy. What can you buy with $2 billion that you can't buy with one? You couldn't spend that kind of cash if you lived forever and your money manager was MC Hammer. And you know, there are some billionaires today who get that. And that's why they give most of their money away. As Warren Buffett once said, I should write a book on how to get by on $500 million because apparently there's a lot of people who don't know how to do it. Okay, that's our show. We're off next.
He's terrific, isn't he, guys? I tell you. A maximum wage. Could you imagine if you told some of these people this? I mean, these guys, you know, they have no couth, no sense of shame. They just take. They don't want to give back, you know. And getting back to the, you know, I mentioned that we were going to talk about Lawrence Krauss. And, you know, when it comes to separating sense from nonsense, I mean, when you look at the, you know, the income inequality in this country, I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's absurd. And, you know, how we've been tricked into buying this whole thing. And, you know, Fox News, I always talk about it. You know, Fox News is brainwashing. It's brainwashing material. And we're going to show you how to separate sense from nonsense. So, Judy, hit it.
So as we move ahead, though, it feels like facts are losing ground in the world? Do you feel like facts have to do a better job of selling themselves?
Well, they always have. The difference between the modern world and say, the world when I was growing up was when I was growing up, there were like 3 major TV stations, and you got your news from one of a few different people in the States. I'm sure it was the same here in Australia. Now there's the internet. But the problem is, in the internet, there's no filter at all. So you have access to an incredible amount of information, but you have access to an incredible amount of garbage. And what we really need to teach children is how to tell the garbage, the nonsense from the sense. And I think that's really important, because you've got to be your own filter now to tell information in the modern world, because you have access to everything. And that unfortunately means that nonsense can gain traction very fast, as happens on blogs and throughout the world.
So why do bad facts seem to do better than good ones?
They're often more scandalous, I think. People like scandal, and people like something that has notoriety, I think. And also the fact that, frankly, people want to believe. We want to believe crazy things because we're hardwired to want to believe there's reasons for why we're here. We want to believe that there's aliens coming to visit us. We want to believe lots of things. And one of the things that science tells us is you should be suspicious of the things you want to believe in. You should be prepared to be wrong.
You once said, though, that to teach creationism was a form of child abuse. That's a fairly brutal way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly, but it got some attention, because if I hadn't, you wouldn't have read the line. But
I wish my gags got that kind of attention.
No, but it's true. I mean, there are different levels of child abuse, but it's like not allowing your children to have medicine, not allowing your children to be vaccinated, for example, is child abuse, because you're doing them harm. In some sense, if you withhold information from your children because you'd rather them not know what reality is really like, for fear that it's going to then affect their beliefs, then you're doing them harm.
Okay, I've got to ask you something before you go. I have to ask you this. If we know that the universe started with the Big Bang, which started with something smaller than a speck of a dot...
Yeah, smaller than an atom, in fact, yeah.
What made that?
Why did it have to be made by anything?
Well, someone just left it on the bench? That doesn't make sense.
Well, you know what? What science has taught us is that things that make sense to us may not be right. The universe doesn't care what makes sense to you. That's what's wonderful about the universe. In fact, it causes us to open our eyes and change what we think is sensible. In fact, as I argued in my last book, it's given the laws of quantum mechanics, it can spontaneously pop into existence from nothing with no reason, no cause, and it's quite likely how it happened.
I don't know if that's reassuring, but it is a beautiful way to end this conversation. Lawrence Krauss, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lawrence Krauss!
Guys, I love it. Well, like when Lawrence says, the universe doesn't care what makes sense to you. And guys, a lot of times that's why, we have these preconceived ideas. They're just not right. And a lot of people hold dear to those ideas. And it's hard for them to break away from it. But that's what learning's all about. And speaking of learning, last week we had a call-in, and the call-in said to me that I was in a box. I had wrapped myself into a box, and I couldn't get out. And guys, one of the reasons why I do this show is because, and one of the reasons why I'm a global warming activist is because it can be proven, it can be repeated, it can be measured. If this was sketchy science, do you think I'd be up here? I mean, if these guys couldn't prove the science, do you think I'd be up here making a fool out of myself? No, I trust the experts. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you the clip now, and she's challenging where I'm getting the 97% figure from. So let's play the clip, and you can hear the clip yourself, and then we're going to show you how we're going to do some learning on the show. So Judy?
97%. You can't find where. I would like you to put out a list. When you can publish a list of everybody and show that 97% of your list says what you say, then you'll be talking facts.
Listen to the man. The 97% comes from the peer-reviewed journals that have been published. We're not taking things that Fox said off. This is stuff that has been printed.
Journals.
What's that?
please list the peer.
There's over 10,000 different articles that have been published. Yeah, we gotta stop this now. I mean, if you want to sit in la la land and go with the 3% that are deniers, knock yourself out.
Rich, this has been pleasant, but the problem is you've talked yourself into a corner and you don't know how to get out. Have a good evening.
Toodles. Okay, so I talked myself into a corner. You heard it. And you know, one of the problems is, guys, while she called up, she made two political references. She mentioned Obama, and she mentioned, when we talked about Time magazine, how they were left-wing. And guys, the one thing that science is not, thermometers are not, a thermometer doesn't have an R or a D on it. The data doesn't know if you're a Republican or a conservative or a liberal or a Democrat. It doesn't know. So don't play the political game, because we're not going to buy it. But now we're going to show you where this is the course that's available, the Queensland's course. This is Denialism 101, and this is where the consensus comes from. And guys, there's information on top of information, and if you want to go online, you can source everything, because they make it such a point to state their sources, and like we say on the show all the time, be specific and name your sources. So that's what we're going to do right now. So Judy, hit it.
Imagine you're driving towards a bridge. Have you ever pulled over, taken out your phone, and started browsing blogs about bridge building to decide whether the bridge was safe to cross? Of course not. You trust in the engineers who built that bridge. That's how we form our views on complicated issues. Rather than master a whole body of knowledge, we use a mental shortcut. We rely on experts and trust them to do their jobs. Or failing that, we trust that their colleagues would catch their mistakes before anything goes wrong. Now, in a perfect world, everyone would be aware of all the lines of evidence for human-caused global warming. We would know all the human fingerprints that are being observed across our climate. But life is busy. We have to pay the bills, get the kids or ourselves off to school, and keep track of all the characters on Game of Thrones. So most of us use the mental shortcut of expert opinion. In the case of climate change, the experts are climate scientists who are actively publishing peer-reviewed climate research. Because the body of evidence is so strong, there's overwhelming agreement among climate scientists that humans are causing global warming. How do we know the level of agreement? In 2009, climate scientist Peter Doran and Maggie Kendall Zimmerman at the University of Illinois in Chicago surveyed Earth scientists. The survey asked the scientists if humans are significantly changing global temperature. When the survey results came back, they found that not every group shared the same opinion. Different groups had different levels of agreement about climate change. For example, the group of scientists with the lowest agreement that humans were causing global warming were economic geologists at 47%. The next highest were meteorologists at 64%. However, what they found was that the higher the level of expertise in climate science, the stronger the agreement about human-caused global warming. For the most qualified group, climate scientists actively publishing climate research, there was 97.4% agreement that humans were significantly changing global temperature. A year later, in 2010, another study took a completely different approach to estimating the level of consensus. William Anderegg at Princeton University and his colleagues collected a number of public statements from scientists about human-caused global warming, including as many dissenting statements as they could find. Then they narrowed their focus to only the scientists who had published climate research in scientific journals. They found the same result as Doran did the previous year. Among publishing climate scientists, there was 97 to 98% agreement that humans are causing global warming. And just like Doran, Anderegg found that scientists convinced of human-caused global warming had published substantially more climate research than what he termed unconvinced scientists. More recently, in 2013, I led a team of researchers at Skeptical Science in conducting the most comprehensive analysis of climate research to date. We looked at climate papers from 1991 to 2011. This amounted to over 12,000 papers. We found that among papers stating a position on human-caused global warming, 97.1% affirmed the consensus. So 3 different studies using 3 different methods all found overwhelming scientific agreement. But that's not the only evidence of a consensus. Virtually every scientific organisation that has made a statement about climate change has endorsed the consensus. Note the social diversity in the organisations listed. They come from the fields of geophysics, chemistry, meteorology, physics, oceanography, and geology. The diversity of the consensus also applies to countries. The academies of science from 80 countries have endorsed human-caused global warming. Not a single academy of science in the world has rejected the consensus. Many lines of empirical evidence tell us that humans are causing global warming. Similarly, a number of independent sources find overwhelming scientific agreement about human-caused global warming. We see it in surveys of scientists, in analyses of published research, and in the diversity of scientific organisations all over the world. There is one myth about climate change which argues that there's no scientific consensus because 31,000 scientists have signed a petition rejecting the consensus position. The petition is a website called the Global Warming Petition Project. However, the only requirement to be listed in this petition is an undergraduate degree in any kind of science. According to the US Department of Education, over 10 million people earned a science degree between 1971 and 2008. So while 31,000 people signed this petition, that's only 0.3% of Americans with science degrees. And most importantly, only 0.1% of those 31,000 scientists are climate scientists. So the claim that the Global Warming Petition Project disproves the scientific consensus is a myth that uses the technique of magnified minority. This involves making the petition seem like a large number, when in reality it represents a tiny percent of the scientific community. This myth also uses fake experts. This involves conveying an impression of expertise, 31,000 scientists, when 99.9% of the signatories aren't climate scientists. Now, it's crucial to reiterate that science is decided by evidence, not by popular opinion. However, it's also important to recognise how the general public think about complex issues. They rely on the opinions of experts. So we need to be aware when fake experts are being used to confuse people about the level of agreement among real experts.
Footnote the stuff at the end, and I finished the course, and the course is available again, and this time there's no time restriction, so if anybody wants to go onto the site, you could take the course. It's a 6-week course, but it only takes, they say, an hour and a half to 2 hours a week, but I found it took more. And you get graded, and it's a lot of fun. And I learned an awful lot. And they actually, John Koch used one of the tactics there, and they explained it in the philosophy of denial. What you do is you present somebody with the facts, and then you tell them about the myth, and then you destroy the myth with the facts. And the myth will never be brought up again. So it's a shame that you have to do it that way. But guys, when it comes to climate deniers, a lot of these people, they refuse to accept the science. They just refuse to. So if you break it down like that, you destroy the myth, they have nothing to fall back on. And we're going to show another clip now, and this is from some of the students that graduated, and of course you're looking at one of them, but you're going to hear their feedback. So Judy, let's play the next clip.
Hi, Denial 101X.
I'm Sergio from Rimini, Italy.
I'm from Jakarta, Indonesia.
I live in Silicon Valley, California.
I live in Canberra, Australia.
I live in Mexico.
I have a blog in Spain about climate change and the economy.
I'm writing from outside of my cabin in Fairbanks, Alaska, US.
I encountered Denial 101 and signed up, and it has served in filling in a critical gap in my knowledge and understanding.
The course content kept me glued to my computer for hours.
I learned a lot more about climate science. I have a degree in science and I had studied this topic years ago and I thought I knew quite a lot about it. But evidently there was a lot more data in there for me, which was great.
As I listened to various experts imparting their knowledge about climate models and the carbon cycle, greenhouse gases, glaciers, polar bears and fruit bats, heat waves, coral reefs and mass extinction events. I also learned about the characteristics of climate science denial and probably most importantly, how to counter them.
I was really interested in doing this course because I wanted to understand how science can be communicated better.
For me, the most surprising thing I learned is that it's ideology rather than ignorance that's leading to climate change denial.
I was very appreciative for all of the background on the psychology behind denial and why people have the beliefs that they do about the whole topic.
I was really surprised and horrified by the treatment of our experts and by the way that they've been attacked by the deniers and so forth. I thought that was really shocking, and I feel that they strongly need support of the rest of us, and good on them for having the courage to come forward and speak.
And the part that gave me the greatest hope was the activity on debunking the myths.
Also very appreciative of the chapters at the end that explained some of the best, most well-researched ways that we can go about debunking some of the myths that people hold about climate change.
What the course offers is a model for correcting errors by first understanding somebody else's worldview and the story that underpins that worldview, and then rather than just attacking the errors, explaining why the errors are incorrect and offering an alternative story which replaces the incorrect information with correct scientific facts.
Definitely better ability to debunk myths amongst people who perhaps genuinely have been misled by deniers in the newspapers and so forth.
We have to debunk their fallacies everywhere and every time. Not because we have any chance to convince them, but to convince the undecided.
I'm more hopeful we can get through to those who are not deniers, but who are weak in their understanding of the seriousness of the situation. And hopefully we can increase their commitment to making the changes needed before it is too late.
I feel much more confident to be much more influential with people now when I come across people who have heard that there's been no warming for 17 years or whatever. I have a better way of approaching that now.
When I was talking with a friend or some friend or just simply reading their status on the phone about the hot weather, and what they said, oh my God, what happened to our sun? It's very hot here. And with this course, Denial 101, I can explain to them with clear and concise answer using fact, method, fallacy structure. And it's very useful.
In my life, I'll use the course to talk to my friends and family and to assist those who are unsure to be clearer about what's actually happening.
And really set my understanding and equip me.
So White House, if you're watching, I thank you for the lunch again. It was really delicious. My only regret is that I didn't have the wine. I sat next to Brian Williams, and we all have these.
You're going to go back to the clip now, Judy? because we really wanted to show that last clip with where the White House dropped the word Fox. Just play the clip. Can you?
So White House, if you're watching,
But you watch the invitation, guys. They dropped the word news from Fox, which is more than appropriate because they don't deserve it. And then if we could start rolling the credits if you want to go out with this, but guys, look at the invitation.
And then over next to the president
and look at how they've omitted news from
mine,
Fox News. There we go.
and it
Look
doesn't
at
say
this.
anything about news. It just says Fox. And I looked at Brett
The
Baer,
White
and
House
it said
disgrace. Well,
Brett
they're
Baer
not a
Fox.
news organization.
But all the rest of them got
They're the
news.
Republican Party on TV.
I mean, I don't care. Lunch was
They
great.
have the Republican
But,
agenda.
I guess there's a
and I hope
message in
everybody's listening to me. So are we going to roll
I
the
think Brett
credits
and I
on
are
our
gonna
way
go
out
with
of
the
this,
news
Judy?
And I think you know that too.
Now we know it, so we can roll the credits and I could say goodbye to everybody. Take care, guys.
The Earth's climate is changing.
Still got a minute and a
The choices
half?
we all make are a lot of the reason why.
Ay.
Those two simple facts are under siege from an illegitimate news network, Fox. The far-right channel has fought against the science of climate change for years. In fact, the more one watches Fox News, the less one really knows about climate science.
Progressives all the time are telling you that the science is settled, climate change is no longer debatable. And if you take a look at it, that's the case.
Of course, scientists are going to continue to debate some details. That's what scientists do. But there is no legitimate debate about the fundamentals of climate change. The Academy has laid that to rest.
But you wouldn't know that if you get your news from Fox.
Why don't you just
Their
come
science
back to me?
reporting has
We
ranged
need
from
better
gross
communication
distortion
out here.
to outright deception.
Global warming. New Yale study says 57% of teens understand that global warming is caused mostly by humans' activities. Is it really now?
I don't believe climate change is real. I think this is global warming hysteria and alarmism.
So-called global warming, which isn't happening.
Global warming is illusory. We're actually going through a period of global cooling.
Calling carbon dioxide a pollutant? Come on.
All right, guys. Hey, this is live TV, so you got to go with the flow. Are we going to run the credits? We got to make sure that Martino's Pizza gets up on the screen. Hey, guys. Next week.